Hello, my name's Francine Davis and I'm going to be running 2 workshops in July for people that have got young children, have got older children, or perhaps grandparents that are with their children and their grandchildren, and they're going to introduce you to a creative world called the World of Ogs. And the World of Ogs is simply a set of characters that I created out of all the bits and bobs around my house. And it did make me wonder when I started to see that all the moths were eating some of my jumpers, and I had all these holes in different jumpers. Look at this, look at that. It did make you wonder, what did they find so interesting in them? And I don't know about you, but there'd be some of the times I'd be looking at my blankets and think, oh, look at that blanket. And then rather than it be lovely and soft, it was really itchy and horrible. I'm thinking, that was a bit of a surprise. And then the idea that socks just disappear sometimes, and then when they come back, you can't find the other sock, and it's all covered in fluff. And I started to think, there's something going on here. It was as if my clothes were talking back to me. And based on that, a whole lot of other activities evolved. I created my own set of characters, the Ogs, and I'm going to introduce you to a couple of them here now. Here's Granny Annie, here is Peg, and they're all, some actually looks a bit mouse-like, this one looks a little bit duck-like, I suppose, but they're all very, very unique, very random, the stitching is, just sort of over-stitching and really simple stitches. There's nothing complicated about them. I just keep adding bits to make them more interesting and sort of decorate them. And that's what I want to introduce you to in the first workshop, how you can make your creative Og using materials that you have at home. And some of those materials may be things like old jumpers. So this one, and what's really interesting, it's not just the jumper itself and all the trimmings on it, but you've got things like that, the hooks that you hang them up. There's lovely ribbon that you can use. You get ribbon on, and really attractive bits of ribbon as well on gift bags. Look at these, lovely cord, and these bits can be really useful and really helpful. There's lovely pink ribbon on that one. An old sock that's starting to wear through, has got a hole in the bottom of it, and it's so colourful. So imagine a character made with just those 2 things and a couple of other adornments. There's so many potentials when you look at a single jumper, because in the arms, in the sections here, you start to notice how quite quickly you can create different shapes and so forth. The sleeves suddenly start to look like something else. So there's so much that you can turn one jumper into, and I've got lots of colourful jumpers and such here. I've even like an old bobble hat that's lost its bobble, but it's got too big and baggy, so I could use that. There's other clothes, even though I'm going to advise us not to use denim and things like that, because it's very hard to get the big needles that we're going to use, that we're going to make available to you. It's quite hard to get them through things like this, but there might be zips and buttons on some of your clothes that we can keep to give eyes, and how many eyes, up to you. Could have 6 eyes if you want, or you could have a really nice zippy mouth, and we wouldn't be trying to put on a perfect zip, we'd be just trying to use the zip to suggest something, but those are just ideas, and we'll discuss all those in the first workshop. Okay, there's another, I can see down there, I put out a trainer, and we've got a broken lace on the trainer, so I'm thinking, aha, that could be a leg. Again, how many legs, entirely up to you, or it could be a tentacle, or an antennae on an alien, if you decide to make something from another world. I hope I'm giving you lots of ideas to think that, this would be fun, because I promise you it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll be trying to guide you with the sewing online. I'm going to show you some of the characters that children have made, and young people of all different ages, really. Some of them can be really tiny. Look at this one, he's so gorgeous. But just strips of material off a stripy jumper. Then we've got a quirky, almost like a little teddy bear with a little hat on the top. Little one here. They're so individual, they're so unique, and then you might get something like this. a little dog. Look at all. So the opportunities. The only other material that I haven't really suggested to you, there's two things. The stuffing that we use. We will create lots of odd bits when we're doing our cutting. So the stuffing could be that. But in addition to that, I always look out for an old pillow or a cushion that's lost all its puff. We say it's ready to become Og stuffing. So I pop it in the wash, and then we use the stuffing from that, and that's absolutely wonderful for bringing our Ogs to life. And in addition to that, I need to mention things like wools. Now, wool is not necessarily something that you're going to have around the house. So again, we might need to know that, and we can make that available to you. But just random colourful wools. With the needles that we're going to use, I call them tapestry needles, because they are used for tapestry, but there's different ones where you get a bigger eye hole to be able to thread through the wools. And we're using wools with a blunt end to the needle, so that's why the jumpers are so useful. And all we'll be doing is we could be sewing on for hair. We could be using this to make hair. And again, just little be oddments. Could be just little sections of wool that we have. But there are some interesting wools. And if you have got a knitter in the family, I'm hoping you might have some of these, some access to some really interesting materials as well. But do not feel that you can't take part if you don't, because you're exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to make this as inclusive as possible, because there is an Og in every one of us, and we would like to release it for you. So the first workshop, we'll be doing this on Zoom. It'll be about 2 hours, but again, we'll be making it work. So if it takes less, if it takes longer, then that's what it takes. We're hoping that it'll be a nice platform with us to do this, so that we can do other creative activities in the future. The second workshop will focus on extracting a story from your Og characters that you've made, and to do that we'll need an Og diary. And the Og diaries can be made out of absolutely anything that you've got. And I'm going to show you one very special Og diary. This is one of the Og diaries that the Ogs made when they were working with the cavemen, because they've been around a long time. So look at this great big sheepskin. But your Og diaries are going to be very special to you. So you could gather, perhaps you've got old gift bags and the beautiful patterns on there, and on the inside it's plain, so that could be some of the writing paper. You may have got some scrap envelopes that you've torn open, but on one side there's actually still some blank. You could cut round and add those in, and there'll be all sorts of other interesting things around your house that you could gather, bits of material as well that we could stick on. So if I keep mentioning the word stick, so that means we're going to need some glue. If you can't access glue, then again feed that into us and we can make that available. I'm trying to think if I've covered all the avenues. I think the starting point and the purpose of this video is to get you interested, get you into the idea that there's a world in your clothes that we want to release, and see what you've got at home already, and then feed back to us the things that you think you might need help with. We're assuming things like needles and maybe glue, maybe a bit of paper, I don't know, but scissors and things like that. We're assuming you may need those, and wools. So please just let us know so we can make this work. But I promise you, you will realise that you will never shut your clothes up after this. And that may be a good thing or a bad thing, but I find it's been absolutely hilarious, seeing children discover their imagination and write the most amazing fun stories and adventures, and it might be something that really helps you through the lockdown process and the changes that we're going through at the moment. Anyway, I look forward to meeting you on our Zoom meetings, and I really hope that you feel like you can take part. Okay, speak to you soon. Bye bye.